Did we retaliate by attacking their schools or their hospitals? No. Again, here, you're referring to Iran's um, targeting of infrastructure in the Persian Gulf countries. We didn't decide this. We said if you attack our infrastructure, we would target any facility or any installation that is related to the United States in any form or manner.
I understand that, but the Ras Laffan refinery is not a military target linked to America. It's a civilian infrastructure.
Was South Pars of the field, gas field was targeted? No.
And that was targeted by Israel. But you're saying you're not targeting American, you're only targeting American linked to military targets.
Believe it that it was done by Israel without coordination with the United States? No one can believe it.
Yeah, it's but you see, just the nature of his questions is like, this war, it's like in his neutral terms, his third-person terms, this war is Iran, but he's putting all the responsibility on the Iranian side. Are you going to escalate this? Not even just respond, but escalate, meaning if there's something wrong with you after the Pars gas field was hit, any kind of retaliation is something wrong with the Iranian side. How do you, I guess, navigate something like that when the side that was attacked? And by the way, at no point in this, in any risk that I saw in there, did he ever acknowledge that the U.S. and Israel had an unprovoked war of aggression against Iran, and all of the justification is completely bogus, which we'll get to in a minute. But that's just the entry level. How much of a problem is that?
No, when it comes to the escalation, Iran is not going to escalate. The behavior of Iranian society, Iranian culture is to see what the enemy is trying to do, then respond to what the enemy is doing. They're not going to escalate. They're not going to attack schools, hospitals. That's off the table for the Iranian government, for the Iranian army and IRGC, as I understand it. And I'm sure that the same is happening in their mind. And what is happening in terms of the escalation? They targeted desalination plant in Iran. Iran didn't attack any desalination plant in the region, in Israel. Because they know this is not something, this is so moral, this is something totally related to their religion. Because the government is so much religious, is so much connected with the religion. During the war, Iran-Iraq war, they used chemical weapons against Iranians. Such a long time, took a lot of months, of using chemical weapons. And the Supreme Leader of Iran during those days was asked if the Iranians can use the same sort of settings. He said, no, we're going to fight this the way that we define. We're going to define our way of fighting. They're not going to impose on us, because we cannot consider chemical weapons as, these are inhumane weapons. We're not going to use them against Iraqis. They were invading Iran during those days. And today is the same problem. They attacked desalination. Iran didn't attack desalination plants in the region, in the Persian Gulf, Arab states, or in Israel. They attacked, the infrastructure.
El mal va a imponerse sobre el bien. El sol de mediodía calcina la tierra.
Bienvenidos de nuevo. Hoy nos acompaña Welcome back to the program. We are here today with Alistair Crook, a former British diplomat and negotiator who worked for decades on the different conflicts in the Middle East. Alistair Crook is also the founder and director of Conflicts Forum, and I've left a link to this, his excellent Substack, that is Conflicts Forum, in the description. So thank you, as always, for coming back on the program.
My pleasure to join you.
Only over the past few days, we've seen some I guess, dramatic developments. The U.S. and Israel, they attacked the South Pars, which is the largest gas field in the world, the Bushehr nuclear plant, and also assassinated Iranian leaders, which is now triggering this massive retaliation from Iran. I was wondering, how do you read this situation? To what extent is this escalating out of control, or is this calculated? How are you assessing where the direction this is going?
I think the wheels are coming off this whole thing. It's sort of spiraling really out of control. And it increased enormously with, if you like, that attack on the Iranian end of the South Pars gas field, which is important to Iran. It underpins a lot of its electrical supply and other things. So that was a very big escalation. Now, of course, Trump said that he did it through social just the other day, saying, oh no, it was, this was, Qatar had nothing to do with it. It was the innocent in all of this, and it's outrageous that in a response, Iran had attacked the energy infrastructure of a number of Gulf states, 5 in all, and the infrastructure. Not the tanks any longer, not the storage, which was under attack before, or the ports, but this was the infrastructure. And they attacked, if you like, the infrastructure of Qatar, and that has set it back. It's caused huge damage to that, the liquefaction structures, that infrastructure. Set it back and damaged it. And Qatar is now calling force majeure on its long-term gas contracts, 5 years. And they estimate it's going to take at least 5 years to rebuild it. So what happened then, and the explanation that I have heard from someone talking to those in the circles of Trump, Mike Wolf, and he said what happened was Kushner, Jared Kushner, rang up his father-in-law and he said, the Qataris are hopping mad, they're going crazy, they're really angry at what's happened. And, this is bad news. Of course, Jared has huge sort of investments there. Much of his, funds come for his investment funds come from Qatar. And so he said, this is bad, they're really angry and they're very upset about it. And Trump said, well, look, I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it. And so he produced this response, this Truth Social, saying, oh no, I didn't even know about it, and the Qataris didn't know about it. It was purely Israel. So he put it off onto the Israelis. The Israelis are pretty clear. I mean, you can read it. We've been looking at the Hebrew press, this morning, and they're very clear. And they say, listen, on these things, we're joined at the hip with the White House. Of course they agreed. Of course they approved it. And why? Because Trump thought, that pressure, that would put pressure on Iran to abandon the selective closure of Hormuz. He thought that this sudden sort of attack on the gas field of Iran, the Iranian side of the South Pars field, that would the Iranians say, oh my goodness, we better stop and open Hormuz. Delusional stuff. Really, that's why he's saying the wheels are coming off this thing, because you're getting into complete delusion. And then I watched a clip, I don't know exactly the date, but Trump was sitting there with Susan Wiles, who turned out to be one of the main advisor besides Jared and Steve Witkoff on the Middle East issues. She, of course, is closely connected to Israel. I think she was the campaign manager for Netanyahu at one stage. Anyway, he's sitting there with her and he's saying, I don't understand these missiles. The attack was intended for Iran. No one expected that they would, attack back. They would react and hit Gulf states. I mean, who could have guessed that? I mean, we are in La La Land. It's getting
In La La Land.
completely out of control, and the wheels are coming off because there's a lot of, this is becoming quite desperate in terms of American politics and in terms of the economy. I mean, the economy, particularly for Europe, I mean, he doesn't care too much about that. But even America, what they call gas prices, petrol prices, Europeans, but the gas prices are going up, and people are noticing it and are not happy about that. So it's really, going out of control. It's serious. The attack, this attack by Israel on the Iranian gas facilities and the reaction of Israel is taking energy off the market for many years, perhaps up to 5 years. The galleries say, you need special steel to replace it, and it's not going to be very, very quick. So, of course, now panic is setting in, and markets are still just about surviving because they survive simply every time Trump tells them. I mean, I don't know how they run these things, but every time Trump says, it's going to be a short war, soon be over, and the markets go back up again. I mean, it's instant already. They don't seem to do any sort of due diligence, these things that are said. They just go up and down according to, and then he says, it'll be short now. And then we'll open almost, and it'll be short, and then prices will sink. Oil prices will go straight down. I mean, again, as I say, this thing is just sort of spiraling, not just out of control, but out of rationality and, a sense of what is possible for the United States to do and what is not. I mean, now we know they're talking about sending 2,500 Marines aboard amphibious ships to Carg Island or to sort of open, militarily open Hormuz. And now I believe, I'm not sure, I haven't confirmed it, so it may be, there's so much misreporting at the moment and so much propaganda going around that you can't tell. But he said no, he may have to send thousands to open Hormuz. I mean, we may get into that in a while if you want, but because that is delusional too, absolutely delusional. And Israel is putting out absolute propaganda. Netanyahu's virtual news briefing conference. The line that is coming out from Israel is, they are collapsing. Iran is collapsing. Their command system, their leadership and their command system is in chaos. They don't know who's in charge any longer. It's a complete chaos, and they are breaking down. And, we have destroyed utterly their nuclear capability, Netanyahu said, and we've destroyed their capability of assembling and constructing new missiles. Hoping, I suppose, that people don't remember he said exactly the same thing after the June war. They destroyed both the ballistic missile capacity and the nuclear prospect. But it's quite clear um, the interest of Israel, at least the faction, the circles around Netanyahu, because others in Israel are saying other things. But those that are in the Netanyahu circles are very clear that unless it can be presented as a great success, presented mainly on Trump's success as a great success, that everything is going perfect, then there is going to be a crisis in the United States for Israel and for Trump. So they have to keep the propaganda flowing full spec in order to say, no, everything is going perfectly, there's no problem.
According to plan.
This is a great success, and of course it's Trump's success. And he needs that because there's big divisions opening up within the Republicans and indeed within the Democrats. And it's turning to be something that can be an increasing danger to Trump, to the Republicans, indeed to the sort of, I believe, the political fabric of the United States, because people are getting more and more critical about, who actually took us into this war. What were their interests? What is this
Matanza.
barely visible command structure above the political level that takes us in? We don't know who leads it, what their interests are, but nonetheless is this feeling in one section of the Republican, the MAGA side, that there is this invisible, if you like, superstructure that is, if you like, a control structure that stands above what they can see, what they can touch, and what they can understand. And they say we need to really understand what's going on, and of course the resignation by the late head of the counter-terrorist department has exacerbated.
Well, you follow the Israeli media, especially the Hebrew language media, quite carefully. How do the Israelis assess this development of the war? I mean, how is victory defined? Victory, I guess, redefined, and overall, how the assessment of how Israel is able to, well, you said they exaggerate a lot the pain they're dealing to the Iranians in terms of everything falling apart, but also their ability to absorb pain. Because, yes.
It's quite difficult to give a direct answer, because much of it is based, the sentiment that the support for the war in Israel is at 93%, according to the Post. There's huge support for it. But much of that is based on sort of, again, you can call it opium or delusion, whatever you want, but there is the expectation, which has been fueled not only by Netanyahu but also by Trump's statements about obliteration. We've obliterated their navy, we've obliterated their missiles, we've obliterated everything. We bomb and we bomb. So there is a lot of expectation that Iran's state is about to collapse and fall, and this will be a miracle. A miracle that is often framed in religious terms by Netanyahu and others. That this is, something that is almost a divine providence coming, led by Trump, that is going to bring about a sort of pro-Western, completely de-radicalized, disarmed Iran from the war. And so there's a lot of that, and people think about it a great deal. And I have to say that because they are not immune to the propaganda that's being coming out about this from America and being followed up. I mean, the propaganda is all over the West. I the European newspapers full of the same sort of propaganda that suggesting that Iran is about to collapse and will fall into Israel's lap, and it will be completely de-radicalized in a sense where the whole psyche is being steered by the defeat so much that it will emerge, from this war, like at the end of the Second World War, Germany or Japan emerged, their psyche steered by the defeat that they experienced. So there's that side of it, and there's still that. I mean, euphoria in parts of the city. There's also people who say, senior military officers and others who say very clearly, well, look, Trump actually should just declare victory and get out. And, the sooner he does that, the better. And, they are very careful not to say anything too much about, the damages that are inflicted in Israel, because the propaganda inside Israel is very strong. The censorship is huge. There is a 5-year prison sentence for photographing incoming Iranian missiles. There is a 5-year prison sentence for photographing the afternoon. Yes, I know you've probably seen videos of, the remains of bombs and so on. But as the Israeli news magazine 972, they have reported that these videos that we see are being run by the authorities in Israel, by their public relations departments, deliberately to show almost, banal images. A slightly damaged car, debris in the street, accompanied by messages, only light injuries have been experienced, and they're mostly, almost all, they are sort of an Indian or a Sri Lankan has been injured by these missiles. So they are deliberately showing a little glimpse of the debris. And in one case, they were attacked by locals who said, no, what are you filming this? This is nothing. Film what really has happened here. And the camera crew just ignored them and continued. So I'm just trying to paint a picture that for Israelis, do they know how damaging the Iranian attacks are? Do they have a sense of the balance in this war? I don't think they do really have a proper sense of it. For those reasons, because of the endless sort of good news propaganda, and also because, nothing is allowed to be shown. However, I mean, last night it was reported after the Iranian barrage that 7 million people were in shelters for the whole night.
Okay.
Well, my